Sure. All right. Hi, everybody. How are you this afternoon? I wasn't quite ready for the coolness of this morning. Had to pull out my sweatshirt and my big fuzzy socks. I hope you're staying warm. I understand it might warm up a little bit later this week, but I think we're done with summer. It looks like fall is on the way. My name is Lynn Larson. I'm Director of Student Recruitment at the University of Texas at Arlington College of Engineering. I have with me today one of my fabulous student ambassadors, Miss Ishrat. And Ishrat, if you would please introduce yourself, tell us about your educational journey here at UTA, what you're currently doing, and then I've got some questions for you.
Sounds great. Hey everybody, as Lynn said, my name is Ishrat. I'm currently a master's student in the Department of Bioengineering. I will hopefully be graduating in December. And my educational journey, I've gotten at UTA, I've gotten a undergrad electrical and math degree from here, so definitely have a lot of love for UTA.
And you've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Absolutely. So what we're going to talk about in today's episode is extracurricular activities. How to get involved, why to get involved, all kinds of different things like that. So Ishrat, my first question for you is, when did you get involved in extracurricular activities in high school? Let's start there, and then we'll move on to getting involved here at the university.
Yeah, in high school, I was very active in sports. I played soccer in the spring, and I played tennis in the fall. Mm-hmm. And so from like a freshman level, like I would always do something. And I also did like UIL and things like that. So that definitely motivated me to know that when I got into college, I'd like to do extracurriculars as well.
So what was it about the extracurriculars that you chose that you, thinking back, you found helpful in pursuing an engineering degree at UTA?
The time management for sure, because when you do extracurriculars in high school, especially for sports, sometimes, you have to go to different schools and different places, and sometimes, that might be like 2-3 hours away. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you also have homework. Our school wasn't on a block schedule, so unfortunately we had the same classes and so like the homework you still had due. And so if you get home at like midnight, you still have homework that your teacher isn't going to give you any leeway on. So it definitely the sports taught me a lot about time management and really managing my time and, getting like the homework finished during like the bus ride to the other school and things like that, or like during the team meeting, like, listening and also just working on like calculus homework and things like that.
Right. And so besides like time management, which is so important as an engineering student or just important as a student in general, did you also learn like cooperation and teamwork and compromise and all those kinds of things that you've been able to bring forward into your engineering student life?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, like you said, a lot of teamwork, and that's what engineering. Oh my God. Sorry,
I love it when dogs come in and photobomb.
Trying to make a surprise appearance. Yeah, no, definitely. Soccer, it definitely taught me about like working as a team and, understanding your weaknesses and working with your teammates and them helping you like make those weaknesses like into strengths and things like that, because engineering as a field is definitely a very team-oriented career path. Mm-hmm. And like also as far as compromise goes, like a lot of my engineering degree, there have been projects, so many projects, and there's always, and it's not typically true for every project or class, but you might always get that one team member that doesn't want to do anything. And mm-hmm. It's like, how do you deal with them? Like, how do you ensure that you and your other group mates are successful despite them not helping? And so, working out a compromise with them or like understanding their what's going on with them and getting the situation like, you know, assessed and taken care of. That's definitely important. And you know, also a lot of tennis is like I don't have a lot of upper body strength. I wasn't really the best at tennis, but I really liked it. And so, you know, playing sports, it definitely showed me that even if you're not good at something, to stick with it, and that practice does eventually pay off. And it may not make perfect, but, you know, it will allow you to do well and get to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think that also being on a sports team, whether it's, you know, you playing tennis, either singles or doubles, or being on a soccer team, that you also really learn communication skills within all of that, right?
Yeah.
Also very important for. So I think that's awesome. So you did kind of mention with class and homework and everything else going on, how did you make time for any other extracurricular activities if you had them during your high school days?
Oh, so like, yeah, with the sports, we had practice every day. So I knew I was going to practice for 2 hours every day after school. And then we also had, like, when you were a senior at my high school, like one of your study periods you could turn into, like, you could go practice or whatever. And so that's what I did. And I took a part in UIL academics. I really like history, so I did UIL history. And so sometimes their meetings would coincide with my sports practice. And so I was able to work with both coaches, where one week I would practice the sports, and then the next week I would do like an early morning like workout, and then later that evening, that afternoon after school, I would go to the UIL academic meeting.
Oh,
And
nice.
so, yeah, and it was just about, like, you know, balancing it and compromising it, because I mean, as much as I love sports, I knew that I wasn't going to go play like college level sports, and especially in regards to scholarships and stuff, UIL academics would kind of pave the way for me, which it did. It paid for a lot of my schooling, and so, you know, that was like the incentive to make sure that I was able to fit both things in and be as well rounded as possible.
Oh, that's great. That sounds awesome. So it can make a difference in your extracurriculars, you know, that you might have a scholarship opportunity, right? It also makes you a more balanced student. And I'm sure with whatever you've done at the university, you felt the same in high school, that you felt part of a larger community than just sitting in class.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, my parents so I started high school in Kansas, and then my parents moved here when I was in my junior year. And so, you know, like being on on the tennis team or the soccer team, it really helped like make friends, and it helped me integrate to Texas a little bit more, because right off the bat, like, I knew like people, like if I ever got, because our high school was way big, and I would always get lost, but like I would always run into someone in the hallway, like, you know, who I knew through tennis or who I knew through UIL. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get here. Can you show me how to get there? And so things like that. And you know, sometimes it helps to have something more than the classroom, because the classroom can get stressful, and it just, you know, you need some other outlet to, you know, get your energy out in, and to like just have some fun, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely, you know, because we do need to have some fun, you know, if you just studied and went to class all the time, you know, I don't know, I couldn't do that. You know, I'd have to have some kind of outlet, you know, from that other creative side, or that other intellectual side, or that athletic side. There are so many different organizations, right? We have over 300 organizations here at UTA, right?
Yeah.
How do you choose, you know, which one to be involved in? You know, where do you start?
Well, it's kind of like going to a party, and, you know, there's like a bunch of appetizers, and you're like, oh, which one's the best? Which one am I gonna like? Because there's just so many, you can't possibly be part of everyone. So my freshman year, I went to a variety of like the meetings and got a sense of, oh, this club does this club does this. Okay, well, I really like that they do this, you know? And it's kind of, you just have to, first of all, go to a club that like piques your interest, you know? Don't go to basket weaving club if you don't like it. But yeah, like for me, electrical engineering was my passion, and so IEEE was very important to me. And so I went to their meetings, and, you know, I bonded with a lot of those members, and because we had the same professors, we went through the same difficult classes, And so also they did cool things like outside of just going to class, like you said, they would sometimes have like pizza parties, they would have like back to school dinners. And the cool thing about IEEE is they have their own individual room at UTA in Netterman Hall. And so they also, like, someone donated like a PS4 and like an Xbox. And so like Friday afternoons after like 2 o'clock when most people don't have class, they would, like, it was a free for all. You could come play video games and, just relax. And so,
Nice.
yeah. And then like, as far as the other club that was like Moby, they would hold like a seminar every other Friday, I think. And you would,
before you go on, what does Moby stand for? Or is it just a name?
To be honest, I do not know what it stands for. It's one of our coding. It's one of our coding clubs. Yeah. And so what they essentially did, they would hold like a seminar on Fridays, every other Fridays, and they would teach you like, learn how to make this app or learn how to make this game and things like that. And so that really helped because it took the knowledge I learned in like my programming class and it was like, okay, well, this is what it does. It took the abstract and made it into like a reality, I would say. And that definitely helped because sometimes, like, especially with engineering, we learn such abstract things sometimes and it's so difficult. And especially like the math, and you're wondering how the heck does this translate to the real world for me? What's the point of me learning this? And so I think that's what a lot of these clubs help do. They allow you to see how the engineering is applied in the real world. But yeah, going back to your original question, I just went to a variety of meetings and I just got a sense of which club that I liked the most and like what I liked they were doing. And yeah, that's how I went from there. And I got a bunch of free pizza, so it wasn't really a waste of time, but it allowed me to see, what I truly liked. And I know one of my really good friends was part of the MABS Formula SAE team, and that's one of our most popular clubs. And she was a mechanical engineer, and she really enjoyed, like helping design the body of the car and things like that. And that was her passion. And so she, was fully active in this club. And another one of my friends was super into like aerospace. He wanted to hopefully go work for NASA one day. And so AeroMaps was the way for him. So, just finding your interest and seeing how it aligns with the clubs and finding one.
Right. So there's a question that that just came in and it kind of follows the conversation that we've been having. So what are the different extracurricular activities available at the university? So I'm going to start with there's over 300 and the ones that Ishrat's been talking about are very much the pre-professional organizations that every single department or major has a pre-professional organization associated with it. As she said, it's IEEE, there's the Society of Women Engineers, there's the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, or SHIP, there's the National Engineering Association for Black Students, NSBE. There's all kinds of different pre-professional organizations within the College of Engineering. And part of what I really like about these pre-professional organizations is that they will bring in alumni or people from industry to do presentations. So you actually find out, with this degree, what actually happens after that. They can talk about their experiences and things. Besides these pre-professional organizations, there's cultural organizations, Chinese Student Association, Indian Student Association, African Student Association, kind of cultural areas. There's music clubs, there's sports clubs, there's a cricket club. There's all kinds of different things depending on what your interest is, which I think is phenomenal, right? There's debate clubs, just about anything you want. Can you think of any others that stand out in your mind, Ishrat, that I'm glazing over?
The Honors College was a big one for me. So they definitely impacted my life. And so when you join the Honors College, what you do is, I believe you take 24 credits in your major in which you earn honors credit. And so then after that, you do since we're engineers, we do a senior design project at the end. And so that'll encompass like our research project. But other honors students, they have to find a professor and do like a research project within their major and then present it. And then at the end, you graduate with an honors degree in electrical engineering. And so, you know, that does make a difference because it's not like the honors as in like summa cum laude, magna cum laude, or like cum laude. It's an extra, it's like a step that goes beyond kind of. And so, you know, when you apply to pre-professional schools or if you apply to jobs, you can say, you know, I have an honors degree versus like a regular degree.
Right. So if a student isn't currently active in an extracurricular activity, either in their junior or their senior year, is it too late to get involved? Is it okay to get involved in something at the university if you've never done it before?
Yeah, for sure. You know, anytime's a good time to join. And a lot of these clubs and organizations, they know that, you know, like sometimes members with our heavy course load, we can't always like be there all the time. And so, you know, they're really understanding. And so a lot of the events that they do, there's like no prereqs for it. You just, you know, you show up, you, you know, you have a good time, essentially. That's what a lot of these clubs and organizations are for, you know, just to have a way to unwind and engage with, you know, fellow students that have the same interests. So, you know, like, there's like a link that I've attached. And so you can go to MabOrgs and you can, whatever club organization you're interested in, you can join like, you know, their network. And then, yeah, you can just get into it at any given time.
Right. No, that's awesome. So this is a very relevant question too. It kind of follows up as what are the different activities that are available for virtual students? Well, all of the clubs and organizations have been encouraged to do all of their meetings and all of their activities via Zoom or via Teams or some kind of virtual experience. So if you look at the link that Ishrat posted that lists all of the organizations and clubs, and you find one that you want, click that and it should give you information on the meetings, the time, the platform that's going to be used. So absolutely, you know, there are going to be ways for us to keep engaged with each other and with students. Unfortunately, right now, not so much in person, but hopefully that will be resolved come spring 2021, right? That's at least what we're hoping for.
Yeah. And I mean, these clubs and stuff, they're doing the best that they can. I know a couple of the clubs, they're trying to bring in, like, as Lynn said, former alumni to come like talk about like, you know, how COVID has impacted them and like how they're getting the engineering done and things like that. So, you know, we're trying to make the best with what we have. So yeah, I would definitely say also like if you go into Microsoft Teams itself and like search for a certain club, you should be able to find them because a lot of them are using the Teams method because UTA, since we use Microsoft Outlook as like our main source of email, Teams is the one thing that's free to us. And so I think that's a majority of Teams are doing.
Yeah, that's super exciting. So I also like this next question. Is there a way to interact with seniors for newly joined virtual students? Ishrat, would you like to explain the Be an Engineer office hours?
Yeah, for sure. So there are, there are 4 current engineering ambassadors as of now, and we hold office hours Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so once we get to our contact page, it lists like the link to our Microsoft Teams like hangout kind of. Because whenever we have office hours, what we do, we start a meeting, you can chat with us, you can speak with us, and then, yeah, we can get your questions taken care of, or you can email us at be.an.engineer@uta.edu, and whatever questions you may have, and we'll answer you back. Since there's 4 of us, we check that email on a daily basis. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for. The ambassadors are kind of here to help like a majority of the students and make sure, you know, we direct you to the right resources we try to help you solve whatever problem you have going on as best we can.
And because, you know, I think all of the ambassadors are, you're a graduate student, 2 at least are current seniors, and I think 1 is a junior, right? So they're going to have friends and they can reach out to their friends who are maybe studying the same subject that you are as a newly joined student, you know, so that if we can't, you know, we can help you network, so that should not be a problem at all. because that's what we do. We facilitate. We make sure that people get to know each other and have really positive experiences as a UTA student, either virtual or in person. So thanks for that question, for sure. And Tracy did put the email address for the engineering student ambassadors right in the Q&A. So thank you very much, Tracy, for that. Do you know how one becomes an officer or a leader in an organization on campus?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously you have to be active in the club. You can't just go up and say, I want to be the president. So yeah, like if be active within the club organization for like a semester to, get to understand what the responsibilities are for whatever position you potentially want to run for. And then, when I believe they hold elections every spring, it varies. Sometimes the officer, their position might run just for that semester, or it might run for the whole year, like school year. And so it's different. So, kind of see like what all like it entails. And then, once election comes up, I know they allow you to make like a, like you get to make like a speech about why you're qualified and things like that, and then the voting, like they let you go do the voting, I believe. And a lot of the time we use like a online like polling thing. So.
Yeah, that's actually really good information. I know that when I was in school many decades ago, I was really involved with the International Student Club and was secretary of that, and also had a position on the student council, right? In college, unfortunately didn't join a lot of clubs because I had to work to put myself through the university, but I did try to go to the East Asian Student Association Club as often as I could, because that was my area of interest, just outside of my my study subjects. So it is important to kind of feel connected. We know that students who do belong to an organization or a club are more successful in college in general, because you are connected to a community. You have a bunch of new friends who have the same kind of interests. So that's another reason why we do think that joining a club or organization is super important. So I want to kind of switch gears here for a little bit. We are the College of Engineering, so this is a very logical question. What kind of competitions do we hold, and how can students benefit from those competitions?
So yeah, one of the major ones that I know of is the Formula SAE team. They build essentially they build a race car at the beginning of every semester, fall semester, and then they go to different competitions within the US and sometimes outside the US, and they go race these cars. And so that's one of the major competitions that we take part in. Also, there's for civil engineering, there's the concrete boat or concrete canoe.
Yeah, concrete canoe. Yeah, I still don't know how it floats, but it does.
Yeah, so you essentially design a canoe out of concrete, and you hopefully make it across whatever lake that they choose. And so it's super duper fun. And a lot of these competitions, they get sponsored by like companies. Like I know for a fact that the Formula SAE team, a lot of the people who like sponsor them include MatWorks, Lockheed, Bell, and a lot of like other companies that will sometimes also be at these competitions. And so, you definitely have the ability to network more, and you can, make those connections so that, post-grad life, you can have like someone who you can refer back to and say, hey, I met you here and I was, I've just graduated, would you happen to have any positions available that match my skill set? And so, these competitions, yeah, you can win something and do super well. But I think the main thing that from what I've experienced and from what my friends and I've experienced, because we've done like, what are those things called? Where you go and code for like 24 hours.
A hackathon?
Yes, we've done hackathons before. And so, yes, thank you. I can't believe it slipped my mind. But yeah, just the overall picture is just like the networking you take, like, because a lot of engineering, it's a lot to do with network. And just, having someone that'll help you get your foot in the door. there's that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, it's who you know that helps you get through the door, then it's what you know. You know, like having a friend, because I have a friend who works at Alcon, and she's like, oh, hey, you know, if you're graduating this December, there's a couple of people leaving, so we're definitely hiring like biomedical engineers. And I'm like, oh, wow, awesome. And a lot of jobs are more responsive to having like an internal employee, like talk about like, you know, a friend or someone that they know that would do really well versus like, you know, like looking at like people who just apply from their company website as like from an outside point of view, I would say. So yeah, definitely like the networking, it helps so much, because you never know who will go work for where, or, you know, they might go work for the company that you might want to potentially work for in the future. And so just, you know, making those connections, I think that's one of the main important things of extracurriculars for sure.
Right. So there's a couple other things that competition type things that we host on campus and through the College of Engineering. And one is the Dean's Challenge, which this is the third year that we have done it. The Dean's Challenge is basically trying to create an answer to a problem that exists in the city of Arlington. So last year, the Dean's Challenge was, you know, find something that can make the transportation system better within the city of Arlington. And then there were different teams that were put together, and they worked fall semester and then presented their answers in the spring semester. So they could study the problem, do the research on the problem, and then come up with the solution in the spring semester, and then present it during, I think it was Engineering Week, maybe, that happens in the spring, or Innovation Day, or one of those,
Innovation Day,
Yeah, and so it could be something as simple as retiming the signal lights, or adding a signal, or rerouting traffic, or, you know, all speed limits and traffic flows and all that kind of stuff, bus routes, and, you know, all those things to help make Arlington a smarter city. So I think that that's super exciting. There are other challenges that are out there by departments. All of the different sort of competitions are there. There's the robotics competition, where it's really fun to watch. At least it was when I got to see it in the spring, where the atrium of Netterman Hall had all of these lanes made with tape all over the floor, and the students had to make their robots like follow the path without going out the lines, and if they got outside of the lines, that was a point deducted, and it was just a really fun thing to watch. There's also the unmanned vehicle, you know, or drone competition that also happens. They usually do that in the MAC because the ceilings are higher. And we don't want those machines to get caught up in all of the flags hanging in Netterman Hall. That would be like really messy. So there are different kinds of competitions. Again, you know, look at what the department offers in the area that you wish to study. The clubs and organizations are open to all students, freshmen through graduate level. In some clubs, they are graduate specific. So do pay attention to that, and do talk to your graduate advisor about possibilities of clubs and organizations that they might know that reside either within your department or within the college. University-wide clubs are open to everybody. So just so that we get that straight. If I wanted to get into research, what would be the best way for me to get started in that?
So I really like research, so I was like really excited to get to this point. There's just so much research going on. You know, go to the UTA website, you know, search whatever you want to read. Like for me, I'm really interested in cancer research. And so back like in freshman year, I looked up a professor that I really liked that I wanted to work with. And I said, and another thing that I did is I looked up a lot of his